Yo guys, what's up? It's Adam here, aka Cena Guy. Welcome to the Movie Vault. Haven't done a movie review in a while, and I'm glad I'm going to be reviewing this particular movie because this movie was a big part of my childhood. The first two movies, I'm talking about the Beethoven movies, particularly the first one, which I'm reviewing right now, which came out the year of 1992. I've got it right here on Blu-ray. The first two movies on Blu-ray because those are the movies I like to remember. And it was very successful for what it was. In fact, I can tell you right now for how much money this movie made, made $142.2 million at the box office. Runs at a fair pace, 87 minutes. Its official release date was April 3rd of 1992, distributed by Universal Pictures. Now, they made a number of these in the sequels. I mean, they made like Beethoven 2nd, which I like. They made a Beethoven 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, and etc. But I've not seen any of those movies. I'd tell you the truth, I'm not even going to bother. There's no point. Just because a movie makes a successful amount of money, there's no need to make so many fucking sequels. I mean, they did that with the Free Willy movies. You know, they made Free Willy 1, they made Free Willy 2, Free Willy 3, and number 4, which was a total disaster, Escape from Pirates Cove, those other kinds of movies. But the reason why I'm reviewing this movie is because it was mentioned on TV just the other day, and the first thing I want to mention is that I've been decorating this morning. I've been decorating my front room, and I looked at my DVD shelf, and I said to myself, I'm going to watch a movie while I'm decorating, you know. And I came across this movie, the first Beethoven movie, and I said to myself, why not? Let's bring back some memories. Let's have some joyful moments, enjoying the songs, and let's bring back some memories at the same time. You know, so that's exactly what I did. I put on this Blu-ray Beethoven, and while I was decorating, I was, doing a bit of painting and watching the screen at the same time. You know, painting, watching the screen, and I've seen this movie countless times, everybody. I mean, it stars Chris Grogan. It also stars Bonnie Hunt, who was also in Jumanji. Other people that it stars the evil veterinarian, Dean Jones, who plays Dr. Herman Varnick. You got the three kids, Royce, Ted, and Emily. Emily was in Kindergarten Cop. Ted Newton, who's played by Christopher Castor, and stands as a professor now, and he's retired from acting. Nicole Tom, who plays Royce, I'm not very familiar with any movies that she's been in, although I do mainly remember her from being in the Beethoven movies. That's what I like to remember her for. Now, basically, this movie is a fun family film, and at the same time, it does have its dark moments. I mean, cut a long story short, the evil vet doctor, Dr. Varnick, has been hired to test out this bullet on this gun. And they says, please test it out on an animal with a large skull, like a Saint Bernard, like Beethoven, or a Great Dane. They want to find out the effects of this bullet. So basically, you got this evil vet who wants to shoot Beethoven in the skull to find out the test of this bullet. And that was some pretty dark humour. You know, it just reminds me of what the 90s were like. You know, although the family films, just like Disney films, they have their scenes of comedy and their scenes of loving moments, but they didn't have their scenes of dark moments. And this does have a dark moment. I mean, think about it. A vet wants to test out a bullet on a dog's skull to see how messy it is, basically. So, yeah, there's your dark moment. But other than that, it's a fun film, a very cute film, especially when Beethoven's a puppy. Because basically Beethoven is a Saint Bernard puppy in this pet store. The pet store gets robbed by these two guys who are hired by the vet. And while they're in the middle of the burglary, Beethoven, who's a Saint Bernard puppy, and this little other puppy that's a Jack Russell breed, escape from the van. And Beethoven's wandering the streets, and he comes to Chris Grogan's home, you know, who was played by... his name's George Newton, but Chris Grogan plays him, and he's a great actor in this movie. Of course, the wife, Alice, who's played by Bonnie Hunt, is in this as well, so it's nice to see her. So Beethoven comes across this family home, and straight away he's welcomed with open arms in this big family home. All three of the kids want to keep him, including Bonnie Hunt's character. But Chris Gardner plays George, and he's very reluctant. He does not want the dog as part of the family. He's a workaholic. He's very stubborn. Although later on in the film, although the dog causes him so much chaos, so much destruction, deep down at the bottom of his heart, he loves Beethoven. But he doesn't like to admit it or anything like that, because the dog basically destroys his life. Because that's when we get to scenes of Beethoven growing up from a puppy into a big dog. It shows these scenes as where Beethoven's destroying the house, whether it's footprints on the carpet, making a mess of the bed, chewing his shoes, destroying all of his work property. And we get that great song, Roll Over Beethoven, I gotta dig it. So there's great music in this song. I was whistling along to the music while I was decorating. Throughout the middle of the film, it's about getting to know the characters, and I thought they did a great job of doing that, whether it's Emily drowning in a pool because she wasn't watched by the babysitter properly and Beethoven comes to her rescue. We get a scene with Rice, who's growing up and she has a crush on this other kid that's at a school named Mark. We've got Ted, who's being bullied by other kids at school. So each character does have its moments where they're trying to tell a background story about what their life is like, about character development and all that, because Ted does get affected by these bullies, but Beethoven comes to his aid, just scare off the bullies and all that kind of thing. So I liked how each character had their own little part. I mean, at the main time, George Newton runs this air freshener company, and he's trying to make a big success of it, and he wants his wife to join him in partnership with the company. There's a scene where these two people are trying to outbuy his company, and Beethoven ruins the meeting by taking him on a big roller coaster ride with his leash getting attached to the chairs on the table. So it does have its comedy moments, and that's what I like about Beethoven. It's a fun little comedy family film. It has its cute moments with Beethoven as a puppy. It has its interesting moments with showing these characters about their individual stories. And while all this is happening, the evil vet, Dr. Barnick, is planning to lure Beethoven to somehow at his place so he can test the bullet on him. And that's when he goes to the house for a routine checkup on Beethoven, puts fake blood on his arm, rips his shirt, rips his jacket, and he proceeds to hit Beethoven to get him angry so he can jump on him to make it staged look as though it was like a brutal attack. And he was successful at this, and now George Newton has no choice but to take Beethoven to the vet's office to have him destroyed, basically. But Emily witnesses that it was all staged, and she tries telling George and the rest of the family that it was all staged, that the vet's lying. And when they go to investigate, they find out that's true, because there's a scene where George grabs Dr. Barnick's arm and realises there's no bite marks on his arm. So he's on one big mission to get Beethoven back as part of the family. And they do that because they follow him to this warehouse where they're going to shoot Beethoven. George crashes through the ceiling and stops the procedure. And then it goes into like the fun family mode again, where they free all the dogs, and they're chasing the two thieves down the street, where they get attacked by Doberman guard dogs. And all three of them get arrested for animal cruelty, and the family's all at peace and together once again. So overall, it's a very loving family film. I do recommend it to all members of the family of all ages. Again, the music's very catchy. I like all the music. All the characters were lovable. I thought all three of the kids did a fantastic job of their roles. There was none of the kids that were annoying or anything like that. They were all were fine, loving kids. George Newton, I liked his character. I liked Bonnie Hunt's character. So overall, there's no complaints about the first Beethoven movie. Again, I watched it. I remember seeing it for the first time when I was about 7 or 8 years old on TV. And I said to my mother at the time, who was no longer with us, God bless her soul, I want the Beethoven DVD. So first she put me on VHS, then to DVD, and then eventually went on the Blu-ray. Again, if I could say that this movie really reminds me of, it reminds me of Tom Hanks' film, Turner and Hooch. Because if you remember in that film, it was about Tom Hanks trying to get a lovable connection with his dog Hooch. Despite him causing major chaos in his family, with destroying his house, his drooling, and all that kind of shit. This movie's kind of similar. Because I remember I watched Turner and Hooch years ago when it first came out, and then when I saw Beethoven, I said to myself, this movie's familiar. It looks exactly like, it seems like a lot of like Turner and Hooch, Tom Hanks' movie. So if you like Turner and Hooch, you're going to like Beethoven. But like I said, this movie came out in the year 1992, and that were a big part of anyone's childhood, not just mine. You know what I mean? But Beethoven, yes, definitely must see. And I do recommend it to anybody in the family, the first Beethoven movie. I mean, the noises were definitely the best, in my opinion, when it comes to family movies and Disney movies. And if you like that little bit of nature where they're adding like a little bit of darkness to it, then I do recommend Beethoven also, because he does have that little dark nature, the Good Testament bullet. I know I keep referring to that, but when you think about it, it is dark for a family movie, but that was so magical about the 90s. They had a mixture of everything and it all just worked, especially when it all compiled in one, So that's my review, everybody, for the first Beethoven movie. Please like, rate, comment this, and I'll go to questions. Thanks, everyone. Peace out.